I was recently streaming when someone in my chat asked me this question. Would you say learning every move of every character in Tekken 8 and coming up with a proper counterplay is considered the easy way? And my answer to that is, if you are a new player, no, that's not very easy to do, and I don't think it's the most efficient. So let me tell you how I learned, and I feel like it's the best way to go about learning the matchups, learning how to deal with situations and buttons. The first step is just understanding your own character, not only how to play, what flowcharts you can use within, what combos, but whenever you do a move, check if they are punishable and how you can punish that if you block in the mirror matchup. So for example, Reina, I used to spam this button a lot on people, but I knew that it was -14, so whenever someone tried the same on me in the mirror matchup, I could just practice my punishments, because I've seen that move over and over as I was using it a lot, and that gave me like a much easier time to work on my punishments and get used to my buttons that I can use to punish people. And as you're playing your character, your main character, you're gonna face other ones, and the way to learn those other matchups is just focusing on stuff you see a lot, especially buttons that give you a hard time. Like someone was spamming a button, I need to check out if that is punishable on block, if I can duck it, if I can interrupt, or if I can sidestep. If you are new, just don't focus too much on sidestepping in the beginning, just see if it's punishable, if it's at least minus on block, so you can make a good decision of whether you try to challenge or not. I've seen a lot of people do that in Tekken 7, going through the character's entire move list, and that's a bad way to go about it, because there are too many moves in this game. So unless you see a situation or a move a lot, that's not gonna stick out. So don't worry about being cheesed by a 10-hit string at the end of a round when you were about to win, but your opponent made a comeback with it. That is bound to happen, so unfortunately you just have to take the L from time to time. Just focus on the stuff that you see a lot, and your defense is going to improve much faster this way. Now when it comes to counterplay, I see the situations as taking 3 steps. The first one is when you always get caught by surprise whenever they do a move because you're not used to seeing it. The second step is when you're familiar with it, and if it's punishable, you just do it by muscle memory, you don't even think. And the third step is when you're so comfortable with the situation that if the opponent has a mid follow-up that they can mix you up, or a stance that can go into to cheese you. You have seen that situation so many times that in your mind you can quickly think, oh, maybe they will go for this, I think I will challenge this time. Or maybe I'll just hold back because they might not do the high follow-up, they might go for the mid because I ducked the last time. That's like the last level of familiarity when it comes to situations and counterplaying the opponents. So don't worry too much about that. Just focus on, again, getting familiar with the most common buttons and most common strategies. And once you got to that second point that I talked about, where you're just punishing stuff or challenging stuff by muscle memory, then you think about, how can I avoid that with sidestep, or what button is the best one to use in this situation? Because sometimes you're gonna get pushed away, and if you always jab out of habit, that's normal, that's fine. But in some situations that push you away, they might create a spacing trap and you get blown up. So you just have to see those situations a lot to be able to finally think about counterplaying them. And the last tip I want to talk about is sidestepping. In the beginning, it's also very difficult for you to understand what buttons you should try to sidestep. So I do think that starting with those sidestep charts is a really good way to go about it. Some people might say this is not a good idea because you don't sidestep characters, you sidestep buttons. That is true, but I started by learning these things through these sidestep charts, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It gives you a good basis to try out in a real match using sidestep offensively or even defensively. So for example, if the chart says that June here is weak to sidestep right, I can try to do like a poke that is -1, -2, -3, and then sidestep afterwards to maybe create a whiff. And if they create a plus situation and I want to get away from them, but I know that they are gonna be too close for me to backdash away from a button, I can try to sidestep to the right side. I might get blown up by certain buttons, but trying is what's going to give you an idea of what works and what doesn't. Just have in mind that some characters are very easy to step because most of their move list is weak to that side, but some others you have to think a little bit more, like Jack, where his pokes track to one side and his launches, his big scary moves track to another one. And remember about sidestep blocking. So when you sidestep, you can see that there's a long animation, but the end of it is actually not really making you dodge anything. She's just kind of going back to that standing up position. And those later frames you want to cancel by just holding that. So that's what they mean when they talk about sidestep blocking. You sidestep just enough for you to move into that direction, and before you have to wait for the whole animation to play out, you just cancel the rest of it with a back input. That helps a lot not get hit as much because certain slow buttons may track you better than quick ones. And if you do that, you're gonna make sure that at least those buttons you are more likely to block. And as you're trying sidestep using those charts in a real match, if you feel like you're getting hit too much, then you just go back to backdashing instead. Over time, you deepen your knowledge by creating the situations you're seeing a lot, you're familiar with. Then you test, oh, how can I deal with this approaching tool by sidestepping? How can I dodge this button here, close range and things like that? And that's the tip. That's the way that I learned defense in Tekken 8, and I feel like it was the most effective way. So hopefully these tips help you as well.